What's up, pit bulls? Today we're going to talk about the best sport cars for under $30,000 to impress your crush, which is your cousin.
What?
Sports cars these days are characterized by being fast and looking as evil as Mike Tyson on crack. With these parameters, the first vehicle hits the spot. We are talking about the BMW 435i. The 435i has the same engine as the M4 in terms of its basic structure. Just a lack of performance because other components are installed and there's no twin turbocharging. Purchasable models cost around $25,000 and serve as good compensation for small genitalia.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
In any case, the engine installed is the N55, which was also available in the previous E92 model from the facelift onwards. The most important thing to look out for is the central bolt of the crankshaft, which can come loose from time to time. Other problems may also arise, but if you take care of the vehicle, like a normal person, you usually have less to worry about. And for those of you who believe they can trust Fox News, there's also something very special. The BMW E92 M3, the predecessor of the BMW 4 Series. Here, a new car was classified as reliable because it has not broken down within the first 12 months and 100,000 kilometers. Things like bearing shells, ploy bearings, oil coolers, idle actuators and throttle valve actuators have emerged over the past years as problem areas. But anyone who only feels better with that one letter must pay around $30,000 for a vehicle that has less long-term qualities, but is even more puristic. And I mean, also in your wallet. We continue with a car that has classic potential. The Porsche 996. The 996 belongs to the 911 series and is just a further development of the VW Beetle. The 996 was the first water-cooled Porsche and is considered sacrilegious by purists who believe that a Porsche can only be air-cooled. It doesn't matter that it delivers more power, it helps to improve emissions because the environment is something for liberals, right? Well-maintained Porsche vehicles tend to still be very sporty even after they are like 20 years old.
You sure about that?
When the 996 was introduced, Porsche was in dire financial straits, so the materials used were relatively cheap.
Cheap and fast. Bye.
However, it is still a Porsche 911 and it always says that you have money. That's the simplest psychology. If you don't want flip-flop quality, it's better to look at facelift models from mid-2002. The facelift can be recognized by the fact that the engine then has at least 3.6 liters instead of 3.4 liters. Very important to note on the 996 is the crankshaft oil seal and the intermediate shaft for deflecting the camshaft chains. From $28,500 there are the first models that are good for something. We continue with the Audi RS5. It is fast and looks brutal, but it also weighs quite a lot and is therefore something of a fatso among sports cars. Therefore, it would be smarter to take the Audi TTRS if pure sports car performance is important here. Although it has 110 horsepower less, it weighs 300 kilos less and is faster than the RS5. Both cost about the same, so it's just a question of what you'd rather have. A faster lap time on the racetrack to jerk off to, or a timeless look with a cooler engine. As a loyal supporter of this channel, it's clear that the only logical conclusion is the Audi RS5. Even today, it looks so modern that you might think the handicap parking lot markings are illegal graffiti, so you can just park there.
In the parking lot?
In much of the country, Audi drivers are seen as arrogant slobs, rivaling the stereotype of Asian women in a Lexus or a Hummer driver. But the RS5 has a 450 horsepower naturally aspirated V8 engine. And it would be weird if you didn't tailgate the car in front so close that you could see the driver's receding hairline.
I'm bored!
Thanks to direct injection, the biggest problem with the engine is coking. Higher oil consumption should also be normal for the engines. Apart from that, one should still pay attention to the camshaft adjusters. Transmission and the optional DRC chassis can also cause a bit of a headache under certain circumstances.
OMG, right?
Anyone who finds the facelift looks better, for whatever reason, doesn't need a V8 and wants to pay less maintenance, like an exemplary father wants to pay less alimony, can also look at the Audi S5. It has a V6 engine and with chip tuning it is on the same level as the performance of the RS5. The supercharged V6 is an engine that is notorious for having few problems. You should only change it with the long life oil interval every 30,000 kilometers and instead change the oil every 15,000 kilometers. Because the S5 is quite quiet from the factory, an Army Tricks exhaust system, for example, is highly recommended. It might sound something like this then. But enough of these serious European vehicles, let's get to something unorthodox. The car pro-legalization of guns and incest rednecks love to drive, the Ford Mustang GT. A Mustang is an American muscle car, and muscle cars can't do more than go in a straight line. But that has been a thing of the past, since the 6th generation of the Mustang.
Mustangs are hot!
Although it still has a V8 engine from the last century, it has, for example, independent wheel suspension which, among other things, ensures better handling in corners. Even though it's a 5-liter V8 engine, it still has 421 horsepower, which it puts to the ground. What could possibly be the case is a defective oil cooler and a defective flap control in the intake manifold, which is where the check engine light comes on.
Please!
Otherwise, you will have very little headache with this vehicle. The interior is kept quite simple, which is also reflected in the price. This sister seducer wagon retails for around $29,000. The Mustang is great for getting noticed and teasing furry women with armpit hair. An ADHD disordered personality can also throw on a GT350 body kit for that extra portion of attention that was denied them in their childhood. The irony here is that this is how I would do it. Because the Mustang already sounds cool from the factory, envy from the neighbors is inevitable. So, there's hardly anything better than the Ford Mustang. Well, maybe the next car in this video, the C63 AMG. This Mercedes coupe was only available from the facelift onwards, and the facelift basically had the interior of the E-Class and therefore looked more expensive than before.
Those things look really expensive.
There were also LED daytime running lights that symbolizes a C because it's a C-Class. This is exactly why the designers have studied the master of the universe and much more. The bolts and head bolts were indeed improved in this year of manufacture, but the camshafts including adjusters and hydraulic tappets were still a critical issue. But 6.2 liters also want to be moved, right? Just do something for your money.
Do it!
In fact, it is morally obligatory to fit a Black Series body kit and perform a software update in order to use the engine's full potential. The M156 engine in the C63 AMG was throttled, although the same engine was installed in other Mercedes vehicles and therefore has more power. Pitbulls, if you enjoyed this video and don't want Sleepy Joe to visit you at night, like and comment. Also share it with your retarded friends. See you next time. Cheers.